Some people seem to have the it quality, that indefinable allure that pulls people to them. Certain experts think it's a matter of pheromones, while others believe it's a mix of physical and psychological qualities that create the draw. From my personal and professional experience, I've found that natural charisma and physical looks have a place in the mysterious realm of attractiveness, but that energetic qualities such as self-confidence, empathy, and genuineness can be the greatest long-term draws. Today, I'm joined by an amazing transformation coach who will guide us into the wonderful world of creating vibrant, alluring energy. Today, we'll focus on this listener's real-life question. This is a little embarrassing. I met a good friend in college. She recently moved close to where I live, so we're spending a lot more time together. She's not technically pretty, but she is someone who grabs all the attention wherever we go. Whether we go out for coffee or to a bar, guys ignore me when she's around. Do you think some people have qualities that make them more attractive? Can you offer some pointers to help me get more of what she has? And with that question as the focus of today's episode, I'm Dr. Carla Marie Manley, and this is Imperfect Love. Please note, as today's episode may contain sensitive information, listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Imperfect Love with Dr. Carla Marie Manley, psychologist, author, and relationship expert. I'm here to help unravel mysteries and misconceptions about love, relationships, and mental health issues, plus everything in between. Love is complicated, people are imperfect, and relationships surely can be tough. Together, we'll navigate this messy, imperfect space of real life. Today, we are joined by a top transformation coach, Lauren Salaun, who will guide us into the world of magnetic, feminine, and masculine energy. Welcome to the podcast, Lauren. It's such a joy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm really excited to talk about all of this. These topics are my jam and stuff that I am obsessed with and love sharing about.
It's wonderful, and I think you're a perfect match for this question. And regardless of age or gender, there seems to be a constant enigma for most people about why does this person, get all the attention, even if they're not the prettiest or the most handsome. Like, what is that type of magnetic draw? But before we launch into the bits and pieces that make that up, could you tell our listeners just a little bit about what makes you, you?
Absolutely. So, as you said, my name is Lauren Salaun, and I'm a mini kind of bio. I mean, entrepreneur, speaker, transformation facilitator, all of that kind of stuff. But I am really dedicated in supporting women in embodying their feminine energy, in healing their nervous system. So doing that like deep subconscious reprogramming work so that women can be in their like wildly magnetic energy. And a lot of the time that wildly magnetic feminine energy. And I'm so passionate about this because I used to be very much stuck in my masculine, like my whole life, which is the case for so many women in today's world, especially like high achieving women and stuff like that, and used to be in that like boss babe hustle mode kind of place where on the outside, right, I was so confident, had such a great resume, had all these things going for me, great social life, friends, like all that kind of stuff, great relationship, right? But deep down was feeling very, very like exhausted on a soul level, very depleted, very like, oh my gosh, there's never enough time in the day and never enough, like, I just want to have this like deep soul exhale, and not knowing what that disconnect was. So for me, a bit about me, right, is I've done a lot of that work to like deeply, deeply change those things. And I know what it feels like to be in that place. And I also know what it feels like to be going through that healing and transformation journey and then to be on the other side of it. So for me, like, a bit about me is I really, really like I already said, I'm so fascinated by and obsessed with learning about these things, right? What magnetism, feminine energy, what's the science behind it, the spirituality behind it, all of that. And I just love sharing about it with other women.
Thank you. So before we go any deeper, we're talking about women. And for the other people who might be listening to the podcast, what would you say are your concepts applicable to a person of any gender who really wants to create more of their authentic magnetism to bring it to life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So even when I talk about masculine, feminine energy, right? Like that, each person, man or woman, we all have feminine energy and masculine energy within us. And so each person's breakdown of what that looks like and feels like, and each person's like manifestation of how they live that in the world is going to be unique to them, right? And same thing when it comes to magnetism. Yes, there are ways that I would say like, oh, okay, like women lean more into this or men lean more into this, but everything that we will talk about, especially given the question that you got, are all things that would apply to men or women, anybody.
Beautiful. And listeners, just in case you haven't caught another episode where we talk about the masculine energy and the feminine energy, I'm a Jungian trained clinician, Carl Jung's work, and he really brought forth into, general awareness, the concept of masculine energy and feminine energy. And I think it was in my first book, Joy from Fear, where I talk about the masculine energy being the do energy, that really focused, move forward in life energy, do. Whereas the feminine energy is that nurturing, that caring, that collectiveness. And so when we bring those two components into balance within the self, which is what Lauren is talking about, when we create that harmony within the self, a really lovely masculine energy and a really lovely feminine energy, then we become more of a whole. Never perfect, because it's not about perfection. We become a more whole human being. So with that little foundation, Lauren, take us deeper.
Absolutely. So do we want to get into that question? Do we want to talk about masculine, feminine energy?
Let's talk about when we look at the listener's question, talking about this individual.
Yes. Okay.
It's interesting because the question doesn't say, I'm jealous of her.
Right.
It's more that the person it sounds like before this person came into back into town, it sounds as if this person didn't experience
yes
issue and not being the center.
Absolutely. And something that, we heard with the question, and I understand the delicacy that it came in of being like, okay, I don't want to be mean or judgmental, but like, when I look at this person, I don't necessarily think she's like all that different. I want to speak sensitively to that because I know the questioner wasn't saying like, oh, she's boring or plain, nothing like that. But like, walking down the street, you wouldn't assume, but then this person's energy when they go out is wildly magnetic. And so that's one of the things I want to be really clear with everybody is that magnetism, sure, somebody who's very visually attractive, because of that, there's some inherent magnetism in that, but that is not at all a requirement, right? Magnetism is not dependent on or like exclusively for like looks, right? And like visual appeal. Magnetism is about an energy that you exude, a presence that you exude. So this person saying like, listen, so my friend, like anywhere we go, she is getting all this attention, like people swarming to her, like all this kind of attention. And I'd be curious too to hear like, okay, what is this attention like? I'm assuming it's positive, like appreciated attention to a certain extent, though sometimes like, it can be a mixed bag sometimes, right? But so I'm assuming it's good attention, right? And so
I would agree. It sounds like it is definitely positive attention.
Exactly. Because you can be magnetic for reasons that aren't very good too,
Yes.
And so with this, magnetism starts from within, right? So it is so much more about your energy that is like in your heart, how you carry yourself, your presence, all of that, and then how you are interacting with the world. And a few of the key things that will make somebody wildly, wildly magnetic. And I have a whole, I recommend you guys, I have a whole workshop called Queen Codes on this, but I'm going to give you guys the behind the scenes tea on it too. So one thing that will make you wildly magnetic is having a really unshakable self-concept. When you really, really understand who you are, what your values are, what's important to you, what you're all about, you become magnetic, right? When someone's just kind of like blowing with the wind one way or the other, however, that wishy-washy kind of energy is not very enticing, right? It's not incredibly trustworthy either. But when someone is so sure of who they are and so clear on who they are, that is very magnetic. So deeply understanding yourself. And we can talk about this a little bit, this idea of like the lighthouse effect, if you will. So if you're so filled up with your life and who you are, you're so in love with everything about yourself in a healthy way, right? And with what you're here to do, with your purpose, all of that, you know, the impact that you're here to make, it doesn't matter if other people give you attention or not, right? But you're going to emanate when you're so filled up from the inside and however that is, like your purpose, your sense of self, God, you name it, you're so filled up with that. It's kind of irrelevant what other people are saying or doing. And you're going to emanate this powerful, powerful light out into the world, this like powerful beam of energy that gets felt by everybody around you. And so it's not about becoming like stuck up, because that's not very magnetic energy, and be magnetic to certain things. But when you're so authentically in love with and appreciative of who you are and like filled up, I believe like, you know, filled up with like connected with God and stuff like that, that energy comes out. And when you are in that place from a place of alignment, gratitude, appreciation, and purpose, people can't help but feel that. So unshakable self-concept gets you is such a magnetism hack. So being so like connected to who you are. The next thing,
Before we go to number 2, let's pause.
Yes.
Really soak up some of that energy, because for many people, when they're not yet to that place of having a strong self-concept, they may be saying, well, gosh, I don't even know who I am, much less feel lit up every day like this lighthouse. And remember, listeners, this is all a journey.
Yeah.
And especially if you've encountered a difficult, childhood where family members or a family member was overly critical, if you've suffered from relational trauma, anything like that, this may not be easy for you. It may not be natural for you. Those who have a secure attachment style and those who have had less relational trauma and more of that really good, positive mirroring and feedback, they'll find this idea more natural. But it doesn't mean that if it sounds a bit foreign to you, that you can't earn it, that you can't do the baby step work to discover your values, to see your spiritual connection, create a gratitude practice, create and watch it unfold. And the more you let it unfold, the more you'll feel that light that Lauren is talking about. And that light won't necessarily be there 100% every day. Sometimes it'll be there like 20%. Sometimes it'll be there 80%. And then you would want to just pause and notice what happened on the day where it's 20%, not just what happened on the day where it's 50 or 80%. And generally, as Lauren is saying, it's when you feel more aligned. Actions you're taking, the thoughts you're engaging with, all of those things feel more aligned with your true inner self. So that's you, Lauren.
I'm so happy you said that too, because and I will say a little like background on me. Like I am somebody who has a lot of in my past a lot of relational trauma. So, CPTSD, I've shifted from fearful avoidant attachment style to very mostly secure, though sometimes those fearful avoidant things pop up, which is always exciting, right? So like, and neurodivergent. So trust me, like I understand that when you're in the early stages of your journey or in certain phases of your journey, like certain things are going to be kind of challenging. So with what you said, like you can take little sips of it, right? If you're like, okay, I'm not ready to go full on out, which the next one we're going to talk about, because that number 2 is unapologetic self-expression. If you're not ready to go full out, like a good practice is, okay, let me get more clear then. If I'm not totally sure who I am, like, what are my values? What things are important to me? Is it fun, love, teamwork, community, right? And then you can pick one of those things. Like, okay, let's say love, right? That's one of my core values. And so if I'm like, okay, then I'm going to, you know what? I don't have the full explanation down or the full like self-concept mapped out. Let me just practice today, like being the embodiment of love as much as I can and see how that magnetizes more of that into my life, right? And then you can kind of start to play with these and become, that a representation of your values. So just little ways to kind of like titrate those,
And that makes perfect sense because all of this is a process. Mm-hmm. And for, the listener's question where she's talking about this friend who's, a magnet, we don't know. I don't know what the person is like behind the scenes, but it sounds like perhaps, when they're alone, but it sounds as if this person just has, despite the, attractive piece, because I remember an old saying, somebody once said, pretty is as pretty does. So we can have a really pretty or handsome exterior, but if we're unkind, cruel, narcissistic, self-focused, thoughtless, pretty and handsome don't do the trick. Right. So it's really this combination of being a good soul and whatever that means to you, and radiating those qualities and living in those qualities. Because if you're living in those qualities, they'll radiate.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the next thing that really will amp up your magnetism is being unapologetically yourself. And one of the ways to do that is unapologetic self-expression. So really, like, ultimately one of the biggest hacks to magnetism is authenticity. That's really the key thing. Authenticity is wildly magnetic. And some people might be like, oh, well, my most authentic self is not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But that's kind of the point, right? You're not trying to be every single person's cup of tea, because you can't be a magnet for every single person out there, right? So what you want is, you want to be magnetic for the people who see your energy and be like, oh my gosh, that person, like, that is my like vibe of person. That's my flavor of person, right? Like, what's she having? Because I want more of it, right? That sounds like the energy of the person that we're talking about right now too, right? And so that authenticity, and there's going to be people who see you or see that energy and go, whoa, not my vibe. That's okay. You're not here to be the perfect fit for every single person, right? Like, you're not here to be like, the only way to be palatable to everybody is to water yourself down and be vanilla, right? And that's not what you want, because one, I don't believe that that's your most authentic way of living, for one. And so the more you lean into your authenticity and the more you practice alignment, the more you're going to be a magnet for people who see you and go, whoa, that's my kind of person, right? And so unapologetic self-expression is one of the ways that you can amplify your magnetism as well, because when you are clear on who you are internally and you're aligned and all of that, when you then unapologetically express yourself outwardly in like the 3D world for other people to witness, to experience, to judge, to praise, to critique, or to be inspired by, whatever that is, when you bring that internal world of your beliefs and your values and your thoughts out of the internal world and into the external world by way of self-expression, whether that's in how you speak, the actions you take, what you wear, right? Like, all of that shows another level of commitment and like ownership of who you are, right? Like I'm not just being me in the privacy of my house or in my own brain, but like I'm so good with who I am and like loving who I am, and I own who I am, even if like I'm on the journey and I'm in progress, like I'm owning who I am in this moment. And I don't really care if that's not people's vibe, but that kind of energy is so magnetic. And so one of the ways I like to describe it, that unapologetic self-expression, I take dance class a couple times a week and I love it. I was an athlete, like soccer player, all of that growing up. So I started doing dance and I love to dance, and I started doing dance later in life and stuff, like in my 20s and 30s. And when I go to dance class, like I'm not necessarily always hitting all the exact right moves and choreography and stuff like that, but I'm having such a good time in there. And something that I have noticed, like there are other women in class who like, they're not hitting the right things, like maybe half the time, but they're so having fun and they're so present and they're so expressing themselves that you can't help but go like, you know what? She's like not really getting it right, but like she is so expressing herself, and I can't help but like appreciate her energy that she's bringing. And so it's that kind. Yeah.
And I think what you're bringing up is, as you're talking, I'm getting this idea of the young child who, before they're told that they're too gangly or not talented and enough, not this enough or that enough, and they're out there and they're dancing and they're singing and they're playing, and we fall in love when we're watching a child, not with the perfection of their movements, not with them getting it right, but the sheer joy that they're embodying. And I really appreciate this idea because it can help all the listeners realize whatever you're doing, if you're in your own skin, being you, whether you're out for a walk, whether you're doing yoga, riding a bike, sitting in a chair, whatever it is, if you're comfy in your skin, if you are being your best, most authentic you, if when you are speaking, because Lauren's talking about, being your unapologetic self, and I really believe that when we're expressing who we are, we absolutely have that right to do it. And when we do it with dignity, courage, and respect, then that brings it up to another level, because even if other people don't get us or appreciate what we have to say, or we are still being so gracious and so in our own skin that it doesn't matter if somebody likes our flavor. We like our flavor.
Exactly. And the thing is, like, when you do that, when you show up unapologetically authentic and self-express, like you do run the risk of people judging you, of people rejecting you, being mean to you, criticizing you, all of disliking you, unfollowing you, whatever it is, you run that risk. But that's not the end of the world, right? Like, and so like, I don't know, I know this for me, and I think it's true for many people, though I know it can be scary, is that I would much rather go through life feeling so me and so myself and so free to be myself, and maybe deal with some people not liking me or not wanting to be my friend or whatever it is, then like that is way more preferable to me than going through life trying to be accommodating or palatable to everybody. That to me is like a slow, mediocre, like it's just like dying a slow death and living like this mediocre, like not as shiny of a life as you could be, right? Because you're trying to just fit for everybody.
To fit in and and you brought up the idea of rejection. And sometimes, we do fear rejection because on a very primitive level, we want to be part of a group so that we are not cast out and eaten by the wolves, so to speak. Yet, in today's world, if we stop comparing ourselves to other people and really just go along being our best selves. I think it was my second or third book, Date Smart, where I talk about my dog Freedom, because the concept of rejection comes up so much, especially when people are out there in the dating world. I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be rejected. And I used Freedom, my giant schnauzer, as an example. When we're out on a hike, some people are just pulled to him. He is, talk about a magnet. He's a magnet. and he's just prancing along, being himself. Sometimes people will shy away and like, ugh, big dog, scary. And he just keeps prancing and being himself. Sometimes dogs like him, sometimes dogs don't, but he never loses himself. He just prances along, being kind to everyone, trying to let kids, play with him and little dogs. And so to me, he's a perfect embodiment of the spirit you're talking about being your own self, walking your own walk. And not everybody will love, your version of freedom. And what's most important is that you love your version of who you are.
And keeping in mind too, like, cause the idea of rejection, like someone doesn't want to be your friend or someone doesn't want to work with you or someone doesn't want to date you, be in a relationship with, like that is scary for a lot of people and it's uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good, right? Hopefully this will bring some peace to that. And yes, it does. If you have like rejection wounds from childhood or anything like that, right? It can really like activate those and make it feel even scarier. And it does, right? In our primitive brain, rejection equals I'm going to die because I've been cast out of the herd. And so it is like a real thing that we as humans get to play with, right? But keeping in mind, like, let's put it on the flip side. Are you going to want to date every single person you meet? No. And that's a silly expectation and a silly thing. Like, you're going to meet perfectly fine people who are great that you're like, not my person though. And so if you, I think, put yourself in that position of like, oh, you know what? Like, they might think I'm amazing, but I'm just not their person. And that's okay, because like, I want whoever I'm going to date to be like so excited about dating me, not like, well, I guess they'll do, you know?
Absolutely. And when you really feel aligned with yourself, like you said, you'll draw people who have that same kind of energy, who appreciate, who are attracted to your flavor of ice cream. Mm-hmm. And trying to be every flavor of ice cream, you can't. You just want to be your flavor. So we've talked about two big pieces so far.
Yes.
What's another one?
Another one is like undistracted presence. So being so present with whatever it is that you're doing, that is so magnetic. And so we could even like the dancing example that I gave, that's one of them. But I want you to think of it this way. So if you're out to lunch or on a date or something with somebody and they keep getting notifications on their phone, and so they're picking up their phone and they're looking at it, it keeps buzzing and going off, they're looking over here, they're looking over there, and all of that, like, does that feel like an energy you want to lean into?
No.
Yes, right?
No.
So that's repelling energy, not magnetic energy. Now, if that person is making eye contact, now, like, you can have some breaks in eye contact. It doesn't need to be locked in the whole time. But if their body language is engaged with yours, if they are making eye contact, if they are actively listening to you, if they are asking questions and you're having a great conversation that's balanced and interesting and all of that, and you feel that they're curious about you, all those things, if their energy is focused on you and what you are doing there together, right? If it's, it's a friend that I'm catching up with that I haven't spoken to in a while, and I'm so curious to hear about how her life's been since we last caught up and get all the updates. When you're so present like that, not letting your energy be distracted in other places, that is magnetic. That gets you wanting to lean in and like, oh, this feels so good. I'm just really enjoying this experience. Like, same thing even, like, I got feedback once a couple of years ago at this point. Like, I sometimes, when it gets really beautiful, I love to, and it's nice out, go take my laptop and like work from a cute cafe or something like that. And there's a cute little cafe space outside of my gym. And so I like to work out there, maybe work out and then go work from that spot afterwards sometimes, just to mix it up. And I had somebody who I know from the gym come up to me, and I'm so like present in the moment of what I'm doing. Yes, I'm working. Maybe I might want to be doing something else that isn't work, but I'm so like connected with what I'm doing. And I make a point of it to really like it's just very natural for me to be in my feminine energy and like present in my experience. So I'm like taking in what I'm hearing, like the weather feels so good. So I'm just soaking up this experience. But I'm working, I'm being productive, but I'm just like so there with what I'm doing. my energy. You can tell that I'm not like distracted or thinking about other things or like focus on something else. I'm just there in the moment. And I had somebody come up to me and say something like, you know what? Like there's something about you. You are always, whether it's at the gym or whether it's out here working, you are always so connected with what you're doing. And I can tell that you are creating a whole vibe and a whole like that whatever you're doing is the most important thing that you could be doing. And I can tell you're enjoying it. And so that sort of thing, that like powerful presence for whatever you're doing is really magnetic. Like it gets, if you're with someone else, it's going to get them leaning in and opening up more. If you're just out in the world, it gets people's attention like, oh, wow, she is so there present with her experience and having like I can tell she's not rushing through things or like preoccupied, whatever it is. And so with that too, like, you know, sometimes I can hear people being like, well, if I'm working or doing XYZ and I don't want to be doing that, I don't, you know, it's kind of hard to do that. Well, everything that we're doing in our daily life is a choice. It is a choice to go to the job that you have, whether you like it or not. That is a choice that you're choosing. And so even if that may not be the end goal, right? And you might be like, you know what? I'm doing this job for now because I need it and I have to, and I wish it were different, but this right now is the thing. If that's what you're choosing, finding ways to be appreciative of it, to be in gratitude, to be like, okay, if it's for this shift or however many hours, I'm going to, for the next 4 hours, whatever it is, be as present with this as possible and do it to the level of excellence, that I can. Like that level of presence and care to what you're doing is really, really magnetic, even when it's things that maybe aren't your first choice.
Absolutely. And what I hear you talking about is really being in the moment.
Yeah.
And research continues to show that when you're able to be in the moment, mindfully be in the moment, whatever you're doing, whether you're cleaning, walking, you know, making dinner, talking to a coworker, sitting at a bar, getting to know someone, talking to your spouse at dinner, breakfast, lunch, and being in that moment, being engaged is not only one of the greatest gifts we can give to other people, but it's one of the greatest gifts we can give to the self, because if we're in the moment, we're not worrying about what might be happening down the road. We aren't worrying about what happened yesterday. We are actually in the present. And that is very, very, talk about a magnetic draw. And that's, again, going back to kiddos. It's one of the things we love about kiddos. They are so immersed in the moment. They're playing in a sandbox or watching a spider, whatever they're doing, they are immersed. And that's a quality that we can retrain ourselves as adults to remember. We all have that within us, but it does take some adjustment, some habit change of letting go of the next, but just be here, be now. Oh, you made me think of, I actually painted that on my yoga mat because I was so forward thinking all the time, this, but I had to remind myself, whether I was taking class or instructing a class, be here, be now, be love. And that's my mantra painted on my mat to remind me to be present. And that's a really good tip, Lauren, because that shows self, you know, that you're appreciative of being at home in your body. And then if somebody else is across from you, that kind of focused energy shows that you appreciate them. And that is very inherently magnetic.
Yeah, absolutely. And in ways, because I work with a lot of women who are high achieving, who have been in that boss babe kind of place, likely for a long time, that, you know, successful, like lots of responsibility, kind of go kind of energy. And so sometimes it's like, yeah, but I have a million things going on. Like that's hard. I can't be. Again, take the baby steps, right? And so practicing that presence and being in the moment, take 5 minutes and go sit on your lawn or sit outside on your patio, whatever it is, and take a moment just to, and this is also a great way to lean more into and embody more of your feminine energy. What I'm sharing is take 5 minutes, set a timer, close your eyes, and just connect with your sensory experience. Okay, what do I feel What do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? How good, like, how does the like light breeze feel on my skin, or the sun, or like, oh, that's an interesting bird noise, like that kind of thing. Or when you go for a walk, like, okay, how many different like kinds of leaves can you notice? And even just if you're like, okay, I don't have time for the walk or the sit on the lawn sort of thing. Okay. Then when you're going to the grocery store, going to the gym, whatever it is, can you, in that moment from when you walk to the car, into the gym, or while you're in the grocery store, like on that little walk into the gym, can you, instead of going through your to-do list of what you need to do at the gym or what you need to do after or whatever you just did, instead of doing that, can you just take a breath and be like, you know what? I'm going to calmly, like I'm going to disconnect my mind a little bit, and I'm just going to be here for this 30-second walk into the gym and be like present in this moment, not with my mind somewhere else. So you can start to like take little sips of those moments of presence, and it gets easier and easier as you go.
Absolutely. Being in that place of mindfulness, being present. It is, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to hear any more about mindfulness. But mindfulness is one of the biggest keys to living your genuine life, being present, being mindful of your breath, of your body, of how your clothes are fitting on you, how you're responding to the environment, just really being present. And again, one of the best gifts you can give to yourself, because you can't be in a place, so many people are anxious and worried and fearful. And if we're just in the present moment, it's really hard to be anything, that's, stress inducing or irritating, because there's so much in that present moment of just breathing, washing yourself with inhalations and exhalations that is so soothing and calming to the nervous system. So thank you for highlighting that.
Absolutely.
We have enough time for one more piece.
Okay, perfect. So the last like key to being really, really magnetic, and this one's going to be more for the ladies, is to really like embody that feminine energy. So as you already mentioned, feminine energy is our receiving energy. It's that open, receptive energy, whereas the masculine energy is that doing. So feminine is being and receiving, masculine doing and providing. And so our natural state as women is to be magnetic, right? Is to be and to be in that receptive state. And so if you think about being magnetic, right? Like magnetism doesn't require a ton of efforting. Magnetism is, okay, I'm going to exude this amazing energy. I'm going to be present, self-expressed, like anchored into who I am and my values and all of that, and practicing alignment. And things will start to come into your orbit faster and with more ease. And so when we keep that in mind, the feminine energy is the being energy. It's that receptive energy. The more you embody that, the more space you create for receiving things that want to come your way. If you're constantly in this doing, you're doing all the work, right? So finding that balance of like, okay, am I leaving enough room for things to be magnetized toward me? Or am I just going out and trying to chase them and make them happen myself? Because I don't trust that things are on their way to me. And so one of the things that I like to explain with this, if we think very, very, on a very specific biological level, right? If we think about the reproductive system and how a woman's cycle, right? An egg once a month, like our cycle is happening now. Obviously, women we can have our own complications with these things and that kind of stuff. But if we're thinking we have a 28, 30-day cycle that happens every single month for the majority of our lives, or the first half of our lives, that is going to happen regardless of what's going on outside for the most part, right? It's going to keep happening. She is on her schedule. That egg, she is doing her thing, doing her schedule, like focused on just what she needs to do. She then is also not the one who then goes out to find the sperm. No. She does her thing. She's comfortable, happy, all of that. The sperm go to her. So if you could think of like on a very basic, like fundamental biological level like that, like we are designed to be the ones that magnetize toward us anyhow, right? The egg is not going out there chasing after the sperm. She is operating on her schedule, going through her life, doing her thing, and they're fighting for the opportunity. And so anchoring into that, I love thinking about that too, of being like, wait a second, am I like pushing too hard? Am I efforting too much? Am I like anxious? So I'm trying to go out and make it happen instead of just trusting and being. It's like, okay, be like the egg. Be like the egg. Just like create the space for receiving, and like I don't have to go out and chase it all the time. So that's just one little example of that, but anchoring into that feminine energy even more, which is that sensuality, which doesn't necessarily mean sexual energy, though that's a part of it, but that sensuality connected into your senses, creativity, playfulness, passion, all of that is going to open up that magnetism for you even more.
Absolutely. I agree. And I love the idea of looking at it as, yes, we are receptive. We are the creative, the nurturing energy as women naturally. And we can also be really discerning about who comes into our realm. And that's the part that also, I believe, adds to magnetism. If we're not thirsting for just anyone or anything, but saying, I trust that good things will come because I am doing good. I'm watching for the open windows, the open doors, and I won't just accept anyone or anything into this close realm of who I am, but this is what I have to offer. This is who I am, and this is what I want to draw toward me. So whether we're talking about a partner, whether we're talking about a job, whatever it is, being in that place of saying, I trust that I'm doing the work to be a good person, to be true to myself, to be authentic. And I trust that the universe, God, divine, whatever you want to call it, is going to bring me that which will help me on my path to my highest, best self. Oh, what a gorgeous recipe that is.
Yes. And boundaries are so important because it's not just, this open energy for anybody. No, it's part of this formula is that elevated, not stuck up, not better than, but elevated energy, that discerning energy. So clear boundaries, but with an open heart. So it's open-hearted, but also boundaried.
And it's interesting that you're saying that as we wind up, because some people have worked with this a lot with clients. And I do have to say I was confused about it, in my own life decades ago, where confused, open-hearted with having anybody cross your boundaries who says they're a good fit or that they want the best for you. And what their energy has to offer might not be what's best for your energy. And that's again where the feminine can come in and really, again, regardless of your gender, we all have the feminine energy that can allow us to decide. We're not being, unkind or discriminating against people, but we are being discerning. We're saying, let me think on this. Let me go into my energy and see if this is a good fit. Let me think about if this is the best thing for me. And so the more we treasure who we are as individuals, the more we hold ourselves in high regard, which is strong self-esteem, the more we will be able to have boundaries with those that are best kept on the other side of the fence and have an open door for those who earn our trust and earn, right to a closer place in our lives. So
absolutely.
My goodness, Laura, what a treasure you are. Where can our listeners find you?
Absolutely. This was so fun. I loved this. Thank you so much. You guys can find me. You can check out my website, lauransalaun.com. Last name is Salaun. You can also find me at Lauren Salaun on both Instagram and Twitter. And I also have a podcast called Amplify with Lauren.
Beautiful. And listeners, if you don't have a pen handy, if you're driving, don't worry. This will all be in the show notes. Again, Lauren Salaun, Salaun. You can find her online. You can find her on her socials. And just one more piece. What about your queen guide idea? Let's just talk that for a sec.
Yes. Text like a queen.
Yes.
So I do a lot of work with women on healing that masculine, feminine energy and finding that balance and harmony. I do a lot of work with subconscious reprogramming, somatic healing. And I also do a lot with dating. So dating and relationships too. And I have so much fun with that because one of the things I hear from so many women, especially those high achieving, like powerhouse, amazing women who like have everything, right? The women who have everything, sometimes they're like, yeah, but the place that's been hard is the dating. Like I can't find a man who's masculine enough or whatever it is, right? And so I created a guide called Text Like a Queen. You can find it on my website, and it has nearly 100 different examples of how to text or communicate, because it doesn't have to just be via text, in a way that activates a man's masculine energy. So it's how to text in a way that embodies your feminine essence, your feminine energy, so that you can like bring out that masculine energy in your man and activate that in your man, whether it is a new man that you are just met in its early stages of dating, whether it is in your current relationship. I've had several married people get the guide and they're like, oh my gosh, I've started like talking to my, because, you know, again, it doesn't have to be just with texting. They're like, I said that one to my husband this week and his reaction was amazing, right? And so it can be something that if you're in a long-term relationship is really effective as well. There's tons of like the kind of philosophy and psychology behind it, like all sorts of goodies. It's so good. It's so good. And several, I will say, like I've tested all of the texts in there.
Okay, Lauren, before we go, give us one example.
Okay, so
powerful text for I'll try it on my husband. Let's see, I'll give it a personal try. Tell me what to text him.
So one of the things and this is just such a good one for feminine energy communication, period, is instead of, and this is for a lot of high achieving go-getter women, right? We have amazing, powerful brains, which is so, so good. And we sometimes women tend to put that kind of energy into dating life. And so with men, right, one of the most effective ways to communicate is from your feelings. So you can say something like, hey, when you did XYZ, it made me feel so loved and cared for and appreciated and valued. Like, thank you so much. Or it made me feel so happy, like, and made me smile so big, right? And so with men, like they tend to live in the realm more of thinking, women feeling. So if we're approaching a man with communication of I think, we're talking to them like men talk to them. And that's not how they want to be spoken to by a woman. And so just simple things like that is like when you do XYZ, because men also want to be of service. They want to, like a man who's wired, right? A healthy man, they want to do things for the woman they care about. So the way to get more of that kind of treatment and to show him that you appreciate him and in a way that's going to land for him is to say things like, hey, when you did XYZ, when you took out the trash cans, like that makes me feel so like taken care of and like a princess or something, or like I felt so happy, you know, you surprised me yesterday for lunch. This is in my relationship, I got lunch dropped off for me yesterday because I was feeling a little emotional and stressed. When you dropped off lunch for me yesterday and like gave me a quick hug, that made me feel so supported and so taken care of. And I know it was a little thing, but it wasn't necessarily part of your day already. So like, thank you so much for going out of your way to do that for me. It really, really made me feel so much better.
Well,
like that sort of thing. And it's simple. Yeah.
And really beautifully said. In my world, we call those iMessages, and my husband does get heavy doses of iMessages. So I'm glad I'm on the right path here. So thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
To our listeners, thank you so much, as always, for sharing your time and energy with us today. And this is Imperfect Love. Thanks so much for sharing your time with me today. Remember, you have the power to transform your life and love fearlessly, if imperfectly, and it's my privilege to help you along the way. You can find more life-changing content, including my books and other podcast episodes, at drcarlamanley.com. Feel free to submit your own confidential questions through my website. I'll do my very best to include your issue on a future episode. If you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe and leave a review. Until we connect again, this is Dr. Carla Marie Manley wishing you oceans of blessings and love. Please note, this podcast is psychoeducational in nature and is not intended to replace formal mental health support. Please contact your healthcare provider or emergency hotline if you need psychiatric care. And, as always, please take good care of your amazing, wonderful self.